Ken Williams, before we get started, I want you to do some research for me, sir. And look up, I don't know what year's Masters it was, but look on the 16th, excuse me, on H2O or whatever, that 4242 or whatever, then you do your intro, I do my intro. Now, Ken, could you look up for me the 16th hole at the Masters? Tiger Woods shot, not this year, it was like 2009, something like that. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here, along with our guest host, Sasha Lightborn, from 242 Happy Foods. How you doing?
It's actually called Happy Foods 242.
Happy Foods. I'm a senior citizen, so forgive me.
Good afternoon,
okay.
Bahamas.
Good afternoon, Sasha.
Good
Lovely
afternoon,
to see you.
Ed.
Lovely to see you.
It's always a pleasure to be in your company, Ed.
You're decked out in your Alive regalia.
I am.
It's a pleasure always to see you and Alive. How are you doing?
I'm good, Ed.
Yes.
I'm good. I'm looking forward to the weekend, looking forward to the long weekend, hoping to get some rest, much needed.
Oh, I'm not hoping. When you see me leave from here, it's strictly horizontal. You wouldn't see no 90-degree action from me. Flat, 180.
Got you.
Okay?
Got
In fact, you know, I don't know about you, Sasha Lightborn, but, you know, sometimes these holidays, they result in some backaches for me laying down so much. You know, because you shouldn't be laying down on uncomfortable chairs all the time. You know what I mean? You don't know that, though.
No.
So, a couple of things. First of all, do you have anything you wish to get off your young mind, Sasha Lightborn?
Well, Ed, I just want the people to know that whenever we aren't on air,
Right. How wonderful I am.
I wish that y'all could see. You know, and I keep saying I'm going to make this happen, but today, when I get back into the office on Tuesday, I'm going to ensure that we get a nice stand and a nice tablet or phone so that we can live stream this show so that y'all can see the action even after, before, and during the breaks. Because y'all may have one perception of Ed, but there is the true perception.
The wonderfuler.
And so that's all I have to say. Ed, my show actually won an Elevation Award.
That's fantastic.
For Best TV
Is that sponsored
Series.
by Otis?
Best TV Series of the year. So I was very happy about that.
Let me say something to you, first of all. The decorum is such that you're supposed to let me say that. I was going to say it.
You weren't going
to
say it.
Yes, I was going to say it. I was going to say it. And now what you've done is you've belittled. You've demeaned yourself. I'm sorry. Okay. Listen, you know Rogan Smith was also elevated for one of them, right? She was nominated for one of those as well. And so therefore I was going to say, and it was a little selfish, I have to admit, at how this show produces so many award-winning folks, i.e., Sasha Lightborn from Happy Foods 242. But instead, Sasha, you've taken the moment. Okay? Now, would you like me to do it?
Go
ahead. You want to pretend?
Ed.
Let's pretend we're coming back. Let's pretend.
Go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with our guest co-host, Sasha Lightborn, alive. Gaily doesn't alive. And listen, folks, got to throw out a shout-out to Sasha Lightborn. She was recently, her and her brother, just to show you where I am, because you don't know where I'm coming from. Her and her brother were awarded Elevation Awards for their various genres of creative arts, etc., etc. In this case, Happy Foods 242. And I forgot what your brother was.
He got photographer.
Photographer. There you go. So congratulations. You're clapping. You need to stop clapping unless you're clapping for your brother. Okay? Can't clap for yourself. It demeans you. That's all I'm saying. Okay? So congratulations to you.
Thank you, Ed. That
there you
means
go.
so much.
I know. And doesn't it seem better? Doesn't it seem better? You feel lighter. You feel happier. And that's what you're about. Happy Foods 242. Okay? 2 plugs. I'm not on the show yet. Anyway, so
I hope you all heard that.
And by the way, let me say, and I'm going to say this: you put me on the show, you could be a 2-peat. You know what I mean, Ken?
When you work out that thing with me and you talk about
no, see, now you're talking about graft. I don't fool with that.
When you work on that thing?
They call that payola. I don't fool like that.
When you work on that thing cross the way where you are prominently employed,
no, see, no,
then you could be on the show.
No, then I have to exclude myself. That's conflict of interest. I can't fool like that.
All right.
Now, let me say this to you. Do you, besides, your self congratulatory moment. You have anything else that you wish to impart upon us?
No, Ed.
Okay. You sure?
I'm positive.
Okay.
I'm hungry, though.
You're hungry?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, a guy came up to me. He would do it every day. He was kind of like a bum type person. And he would say, please, sir, I haven't eaten in 3 or 4 days. Right? So my response to him after a while was like, you should force yourself. Anyway, I want to throw a happy birthday shout out to Sharon Farrington, who is my wonderful assistant.
Oh boy.
Over at Atlantis.
I'm gonna put her name on our prayer list.
Yeah. Well, you call her and ask her what she thinks about me. You're the only one. Just remember that. And I also want to say condolences, and I'm going to do this in your vein. Condolences to me.
You should let me do it.
Well, okay. You're right. But I'm going to throw condolences to my family, but I should let you do it.
Yeah, you should let me do it.
But I asked you if you had anything else to say, and you said no.
I didn't have anything else to say, but now that you said condolences, it jogged my memory. So condolences to Mr. Ed Fields and his family on the passing of his aunt.
Yes.
And one of the best reading teachers this country has ever seen.
That's correct.
Miss Irma Sandlin.
She was great. And let me tell you how good she was. My aunt was a stickler for perfection. And I think I've shared this story with you before. And I'm trying to remember something as I speak that I want to talk about. But anyway, she was very just hardcore on diction and speaking properly. And so when I was growing up, she would not allow us to say things like running or walking. You know what I mean? You had to say walking. You had to say running. So because I was like 6 or 7, 5, 6, I would see people and they would say things like chicken. And I'd go, no, it's chicking. See, I couldn't end anything with an N. So I would say it's chicking. So she was just, there was this thing called SRA Reader. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. I do remember SRA.
Remember the little cards?
Mm-hmm.
When I was in grade 4, I actually went to grade 6 reading. I just ran through those things because of her insistence on reading, putting me in book clubs, taking me to the Nassau Public Library. So many kids, and this isn't just about my aunt, who by the way spent 52 years in the Catholic school education system, 52 years, right out of high school. That teachers, man, they're so unheralded. And we talked about this before, Ken, about how when we had a chance in our young history to value professions like, teachers and nurses and policemen, etc., we didn't take that chance. We undervalued them. And so, more people went away from teaching. Mm-hmm. Because teaching, even in the days before the, transition to majority rule, etc., teachers were taught in very high regard in this country. Very high regard. I'm not saying they aren't now, but certainly I think the esteem level was much higher back then. And obviously because nowadays we value things with money. So if people are underpaid or not paid to what their value is, and, so such is life. So I want to throw that.
She was definitely one of the best.
Yeah.
Like I said,
committed.
She taught both myself and my brother,
mm-hmm.
and was definitely one of those names synonymous with a Betty Cole and a Diane Sapero from Xavier's Lower School. That's when Xavier's was Xavier's. I'm not afraid to say it. That's when Xavier's was Xavier's. And kudos to my alma mater. And she's she definitely is a legend.
Yeah. On another note, and again, thank you very much for your express condolences. On another note, and this is something I'm putting out there as a trial balloon, and I would like to hear what someone like Sasha from Happy Foods 242 would say. So, as you know, I'm involved in the Downtown Nassau Partnership. And right now, we're engaged, and we just contracted someone who's doing an excellent job on essentially cleaning the sidewalks on a regular basis. Got a very competitive quote and a good machine that does it in a manner that's quick enough that brings the cost down. And the number one challenge, and I'm going to show it to you maybe in the off break, the number one challenge he's having right now is the removal of gum. It is beyond the pale at how bad it is. If you go down, I have this thing called tryptophobia. You ever heard of it?
Mm-mm.
It's a fear of dots and circles. I'm going to show you something. It freaks me out. I know it freaks. It's you, Ken. You know what I'm talking about, right? Remember the thing I told you with the holes? Let me see if I can find it. I'm going to see if you have that phobia too. But if you go downtown, you will see here. Let me come here, Sasha. Let me show. Oh God, you see this? Hold on, I can't look at it. You see that? You see how that looks? Mm-hmm. I have a thing with that. There are many people. It's a disease. It's a thing. And if you look at like me, I get all. It throws me off. I can't look at it. If I look at it, I get a bizarre feeling, right? So when you look at that gum, let me show you this. I'm going to show you this other picture here. Now, hold on, let me see here. This is how we do it on Ed Field's happy stuff. Look here. Look at it. You see that? That's the gum on the sidewalk. Those black spots. Okay. This is how it looks afterwards. Let me see if I can find the picture afterwards. This is how it looks after it's cleaned. See? You see there? That's how it looks after it's cleaned. So, this, you look at that. Oh, sorry. Look at that. All that is gum. So I'm just going to throw something out at you. You're familiar with Singapore, I think, and how kind of rigid they are. Do you know that it's illegal to import gum in Singapore?
I didn't know that.
Do you know that you cannot buy gum in Disney World?
I did not know that.
And you know why? It is a public nightmare.
My parents just came back from Singapore.
Well, you could ask them. And they know where they are now, too. I got it figured out. I tracked them. So, but I won't divulge. But having said that, Disney will not allow any sales of gum in their park because it's the number one cleaning problem that they have. What do you think about a ban on gum imports into the Bahamas? And before we answer that,
if I chew in gum,
no. First of all, it's not illegal to chew gum. It's not illegal to chew gum,
right?
But it's illegal to import it.
Okay.
So, but all you can hope for is a major reduction in gum damage, right? So, because no one wants to waste time with putting people in jail for chewing gum. But let me ask you a question: does gum have any redeeming factors?
I stopped chewing gum.
Would you have a problem with a ban on chewing gum, Ken? No. It's full of sugar, for one. Okay.
Well,
and no one liked the sugar-free. No one liked that. No one. Notice that's the one with plenty on the shelf. Okay? Plenty on the shelf and the other one gone down. So would you feel offended? Would you feel in any way some sort of intrusion on your liberties with the ban of gum? Imports?
No.
Well, good, because you're a good barometer of people. And I see it this way. When you think about how we've now made some major leaps in terms of banning things like styrofoam, single-use plastics, or by 2020, right?
Yeah.
Things that are hazardous or unpleasant to our environment. And gum is a nasty thing. You go somewhere to a restaurant, you miss and put your hand on the table, boom, you stick a gum. Nasty people sticking their spitty gum under the table.
You know where else you find a lot of them?
Where do you find the nasty people sticking the gum?
Under church pews.
Oh, they nasty at church?
Mm-hmm.
Who?
Turn over.
How you get your hand under a church pew?
Turn on over some church pews or chairs.
Are you a church pew turner over?
No, I'm not.
Well, how do you just because I'm intrigued, but
I speak to the people who clean our church.
Oh,
and I've spoken to plenty of people who clean churches, and they
what
said,
you doing chewing gum in church? Isn't that like a crime, a church crime or something?
Well,
it's not a church thing.
No,
isn't that unholy?
People chew gum in church.
Well, let me tell you, if you're Catholic and you're doing that, you got problems because you ain't supposed to have no food before communion, and that's food. Gum is food.
You'll be surprised.
What happened, Ken? No, I'm going to report that to the Pope.
Go
okay?
ahead.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
It's
off the air them.
It's a talking point. It's a talking point.
Yeah. I said something off the air, them. So what we're talking about, or which Sasha wishes to, first of all, once again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Easter. Happy Good Friday. Happy Good Friday. I know what story I want to tell you. Sasha Lightborn.
Oh, boy.
This is the Lenten, Easter, all that kind of season, right? So I had a good friend of mine whose mother passed. And this is to show you how out of sync I am with this church stuff. So her husband, I ran to her husband at the hotel where they were staying. And he told me that they were having a rehearsal or something for the funeral on at the church, St. Mary's Church. So, okay, no problem. I said, okay, well, I didn't get to see her because I'd ask her where she is, and I didn't get to see her. So I just happened to be passing through your old blocks. I don't know if they're really your old blocks or not, but Virginia Street, and passing St. Mary's Church. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to get to go to the funeral. Let me stop in and see my good friend Gina, since I'm not going to get to go to the funeral. So I parked the car and I walked in. And when I walked into the church, because I'm thinking now this is a rehearsal, I see maybe 50 people in the church. So I'm thinking, this is a lot of people for a rehearsal. But anyway, I don't know the system, so, I'm not trying to push anything. So there are 3 or 4 people sitting in a pew right at the door. So I said to them, I think not in a hushed voice, but very, even voice, excuse me, is Gina here? And they looked at me strange. I didn't know why they were looking at me strange. And he said, no, she is not. So I'm trying to think, what are they doing? I'm obviously at the rehearsal. Why are they telling me Gina isn't here? This is our rehearsal. So I looked around to see if I saw Gina, and she wasn't there. Anyway, I walked out. So I came back in. I said, this is strange, because I want to see Gina. So I walked back in, and I said, so Gina, do you know Gina? They said, yes, Gina Rogers. I said, so now they say they got one name. I said, okay, they know I'm on the right track. They said, no, she's not here. I said, well, isn't this a rehearsal for our mother's funeral? They said, no, it isn't. I said, well, what's going on? The Stations of the Cross. I'm in the middle of a service, man. Ken, when I was a kid, I used to go to church, right? They used to have always some drunken fool or whatever who walk into the church and disrupt the church.
That was you.
And people just look hushed. They don't want to say nothing because they don't want to upset me. And they said, oh, this is the Stations of the Cross. So I said, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot your system. I didn't know what to do, man. I just said, that's what I said. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. That would have been the perfect thing for you to do.
But Ken, I walk in the middle of a service, having because I think that is rehearsal. Gina, where's Gina? Because when I look on the altar, see what happened was, if I had walked in and the priest was on the altar, I would have. But there was no priest on the altar. Why? He doing the stations. I didn't spot him. Because they walk around. Mm-hmm. You know about that, right? Mm-hmm. Are you a Catholic?
I was.
Okay. So you understand. Ken, are you a Catholic? No. Okay. How do you understand this, son? Okay, you understand this? Okay. So, now this is the segue. Speaking of churches, Notre Dame, the place where HB lived.
I still would have had a good segue after you spoke about the Pope. So let's not try and make it seem like my segue or your segue
make a what?
Was
make
better
a team?
Than my segue.
No, I didn't say my segue was better than your segue.
That's what you were implying by your tone.
So you're in my head? You know what I'm implying?
Yes.
What am I implying now? It's always a pleasure to have you, Sasha.
Always a pleasure
always
to be
a pleasure.
Here, Ed.
Yeah, so tell us about your situation, not your situation, your sentiments with regard to the burning of the birthplace of HB.
I thought it was really sad when I saw it on the TV. That was Wednesday, I believe.
Yes.
Yesterday? No, day before. Anyway, this week. And what I found even more interesting was some of the commentary. I think they raised over $1 billion in the first 24 hours, and I was just reading some of the commentary. I find that I'm becoming more observant as I get older. So I was just reading some of the comments, and I found it interesting. A lot of people were upset that a lot of famous people, celebrities, businessmen, CEOs, were donating towards the church, the rebuilding of the church, and commenting on, other churches being burned down, other religions having lost mosques and other temples and that sort of thing. And more specifically, some Americans who would have chimed in on the story as I watched on BBC and other television programming that, there are still people in Flint, Michigan without good water to drink. And why doesn't the U.S. government donate money towards making sure that Flint, Michigan has good, clean running water? So I just found it really interesting, some of the comments that I read.
First of all, did the government donate any money toward the Notre Dame?
I think, didn't Donald Trump say that?
We're not talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about the government.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether I don't think his donation was a personal
donation.
No,
I'm sure it wasn't.
He said that on behalf of the U.S. government, we're going to do our part to assist.
Right. But the U.S. government has also given money to hurricane victims, et cetera, from other countries. So
they have.
But, and I'm sure that there are people who have given. But, listen, let me tell you what you will really come to learn as you get older and your observations. Everyone have a gripe, man. Mm-hmm. So it's no gripe-free thing. Mm-hmm. You could be given to anything and someone have a gripe. So I don't know about you, Ken, but I'm at the stage in my life where, you do what you want to do, what you need to do, and forget about the gripers. Okay? I try, if someone chooses to donate money somewhere, that's none of my business. None of my business. Now, there's an argument, and they have a right to do it. If the U.S. government is giving toward this, well, maybe they're giving toward a number of things. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that the Flint municipality is getting money from the U.S. government or the whomever to rebuild their water supply. So it's everyone's giving to everyone. Yep. So I don't know. I just
found it really interesting. Like I said, I was reading the comments.
Yeah.
I don't really have a personal opinion. Yeah. I did get to see it when I was off to school in England. Yeah. And did a little bit of traveling.
And it's extraordinary, right?
It is.
And that's where my boy live.
Yeah.
HB. So let me tell you something. I am thankful for Game of Thrones. And I'll tell you why I'm thankful for it, and it's going to intrigue you. I'm thankful for the Game of Thrones because in the last month or so, it has taken me completely, because it's a 24-hour thing that they've been running, it has taken me away from watching the news. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so it's see, normally you would have normally it would be a marathon like on a weekend or something when you have these things, right? But Game of Thrones and its hype, and you got to give it credit for the hype. In its hype had 24/7 Game of Thrones channel. And I locked into that for about a month ago. I'm now a GOT expert. Okay?
Congratulations, and you're proud of that?
I'm proud of it. And what I'm even more proud of, Miss Elevation, is the fact, maybe I could get the Elevation Award for that.
Oh,
okay?
Lord.
And maybe what I'm proud about is that I have detoxed from news. You see like this thing about, I don't want to get to it, be on a travel advisory for car accidents. Just this morning I see some people on the I-95 get killed in a car accident. And we're an advisory because of that? Come on. Next thing you know, we're an advisory because people slipping down.
Yeah.
Don't go to the Bahamas because they have uneven pavement.
Don't you think we've been having a lot of accidents, though?
Yeah, but I know, but it isn't
overwhelmingly. It just seems like so many within the last, let's say, week.
Well, I don't know the amount of accidents we've had. We've had accidents. People are blaming a lot of the accidents, by the way, on the fact that we have these new roads. The dual carriageways, et cetera, and people speeding. People on some of these roads. You see a lot of accidents in them places, like the JFKs and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're right.
And you know how you can tell?
And the
check them roundabout signs.
The Cable Beach, yeah.
They got some yellow things around them now. Because what was happening, people just going straight through them.
Yeah.
Okay? So hopefully the little yellow strip.
Be safe this weekend. Plenty of people be on the streets.
Or don't be on the street.
Just stay home. Enjoy your fish.
On your way home now, get your hot cross bun.
Yeah. And stay home.
Or have them delivered.
Plenty Netflix. Turn on the AC if you got it, because it's hot out there.
Watch your Game of Thrones.
You're home. NBA playoffs is also
Watch some Happy Foods 242. It's award winning.
There's that on YouTube. Happy Foods.
You're probably looking at it and saying, boy, that's an award winning program. I wonder how farther they would go if Ed Fields was on it. Don't worry about it. It's soon to come. Listen, Sasha, what else is going on? You want to have the FaceTime for that, eh? What do you call it? The Facebook streaming for that? Yeah. I noticed you have 2 pots.
Yeah, I did some. I just cut it all off.
Okay, all right. No problem.
I actually need another cut.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, go with the clean cut.
Mm-hmm.
All right, looks good. So, anything else that is in the news, as we say? Our special guest. Let me tell you something. You know, you say special a lot. It becomes has no meaning to it after a while.
True Bahamian legend.
But this ain't no this what you call a special. This ain't no And by the way, my friend.
Everybody's your friend.
No, she's my friend. She'll tell you. Listen. I'm not going to demean myself. So again, I'm not going to belittle myself by having to answer you on everything. She will tell you. But you if she's my friend.
Me now, so you're just as bad as your own.
No, I'm not answering you. I'm telling you a statement.
You're contradicting yourself because you're answering me. Everybody's different.
You know what you need? Let me tell you what you need. Okay? A good cut skin. You ever hear about that? On the radio again? These young children, they need a good cut skin. You ever had a good cut skin?
I've had plenty of those.
Okay. But it ain't been a little while, though. That's what you need, Sasha Lightboy.
There's so much built-up tension. Do we need to go to a therapy session together?
I am telling you, what you require, Sasha, to Happy Foods 242 is a good cut skin. I love you. Don't worry about it, baby.
I love you too.
So, and you know how you're going to prove your love, right? When we're cooking, when we're blending that egg white together. You know what I mean?
Ed? Do you cook?
Oh, I love to cook.
You do?
Yeah. You don't know about me. You can find out.
What is one of your favorite meals to cook?
Buttermilk fried chicken. The real thing. That's one of my favorite because the buttermilk bonsai.
Maybe I'll do a special feature on you.
Yeah. Ooh, now we talking.
Cooking at home with Ed.
Boy, listen.
I did it with my boss, and it
got
rave reviews. So people love that kind of stuff. I also did it with Branville McCartney.
Yeah, I don't know if you could take that much awards. We'll be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with the wonderful Sasha Lightbourne.
Thanks, Ed.
You were prepping yourself for something else, eh?
No, I was
tense.
Just waiting.
Waiting, yeah, the wonderful. Mm-hmm. The young and the wonderful Sasha Lightbourne, who is, of course, sitting in for the equally wonderful Rogan Smith, who is taking a little break. So, boy, I don't even know how to introduce this lady. Like I said earlier, you have people come on your show, and you use this word special and all that sort of thing. I don't even know the word to use, the superlative to use with regard to this woman. And I can look her right in the face and tell her how special she is. And that is, she's special to all of us. And I wonder how people like this young lady deal with the fact that so many people must tell her she's special. But, all I can say is, to my good friend, welcome, Mother Pratt, Cynthia Weather Pratt.
Thank you so much, Ed, for having me.
Boy, we've been through a little while together.
Yes.
How you doing?
Good. I'm doing fine. Thank God I'm still on this side of the grass.
Let me say it in the brothers' them turn. Mm-hmm. You look fine. Okay? You're looking good, man.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
But and you were always an athlete.
Yes.
You ain't still playing volleyball.
It's all in the mind now, Ed. It's all in the mind.
Because look here, I look at them fellas. I used to play a lot of basketball and stuff, right? Yeah. I look at them fellas now, Ken, when I pass places like Delaport where I used to play, and I say, if I just try one of them jumps, they probably got to call the paramedics, man.
Oh yes. I tell you, but these fellas soft though. They ain't hard like we used to be, man. We were rough and tumble, never grumble.
Boy, it was some good old days now. Let me ask you a question. This is maybe for folks who don't know this. How many young ladies specifically, because I know you also help the young men, were you responsible for, just one little quick thing I want to, getting scholarships to college? Do you have a number?
No, Ed, I just stopped counting.
Yeah.
What I believe makes me keep going, Ed, is the fact that now that you can see them, they're back home and they're holding positions and they're building this country. Yeah. And that's listen.
As I told you off air, and Sasha knows because this lady taught her, my aunt, who just passed on Monday, 97 years old, was a teacher for 52 years. 52 years. 52. And I think to myself, how many people have passed through her, right? And, so I'm just using her as an example because if you multiply that by the thousands of teachers and you think of how many people have passed through that and the complete devaluation that teachers have in this country and other countries compared to other places and who they've created. That's only could use the word creation, because they were the charges of these teachers, And so when you say to me, when you see these people and what they have accomplished, and, I will make a bet, and I don't want to, be a downer here. It's probably only a few who now and again say hi, or, you might be different because, you're in a different level altogether. But, you ain't asking for that, right?
No, not at all, Ed. No. But, Ed, let me just say something here about your aunt. Your aunt was a teacher, but we never stop to think how many teachers she has produced. Not just ordinary people, but teachers who became teachers because of her. Right. And she was at a time when teachers were always teachers Monday to Sunday. And so they were never off because they were always teaching about something, or you had so much fear of them and respect for them. When you saw them, you knew how to behave because that's the teacher. Yeah. And so, I just want to congratulate the family because your aunt was an icon. And these are the people that I call champions. Because, you see, it's not about self. No. It's about how many you brought along during your time. It's the legacy that's important so that it will live on, knowing that there was a teacher who was responsible for me, and then I was able to do something for somebody else, and like a domino effect, and that's most important.
Well, I can tell you that whatever I am, because my mother and my aunt, they lived together for many, many years. My aunt didn't have children, and they lived together with us for all her life. And I can tell you that whatever I am is because she wouldn't let me put down those books. Not once. I remember Mother Pratt coming from church on a Sunday, and one of my favorite things, and I don't even know if kids today will have this as a favorite thing, was to stop at the post office, which was in the Senate building, to get my weekly reader book. You get that parcel postcard, and it'd say pick up, and it was a book. Now, who into that now?
No.
A book. What? And I you see that National Public Library? I think I read every book in there.
Okay.
Certainly every biography, I just was it was a thirst. So but that's because of teachers.
Yes.
And I go back to you because you taught. Now, where did you? Let's get into some history of Cynthia Mother Pratt. Now, not that anyone don't know. Where did you go to high school?
Remember now, we got to go way back. You're talking 40s, 50s. You were still flying around. Yeah.
I was a concept.
Yeah. So I started at St. Francis School. Remember the Catholics?
Yeah, St. Francis with it.
That's why I often tell them the Catholics had nuns. That their nuns were social workers before the government had social workers.
Well, my aunt, go back to that. My aunt taught right out of high school. She came out of St. Francis and taught at St. Francis for 17 years.
All right. All right. So, I mean, she was at St. Francis, then of course she went into the public.
And then went to Xavier, where she stayed for 35 years.
Okay. Okay. Well, back then, you had a number of the primary schools, which was like Mabel Walker School, not Mabel Walker, Woodcock Primary.
Right.
That's where from St. Francis, I went to Woodcock Primary. Okay. But Woodcock Primary was not like the primary school today.
Right.
Okay? Because the primary schools today, you start at a certain grade, grade 1, and you go on. But you see, back then, the primary schools, we had one big hall. You didn't have classrooms. All age. You had almost just divided by barriers. And so you could hear what the next class saying, and the children are disruptive. You know better. You got to learn today. And then we moved on from there to Western Junior School.
They used to always confuse me about Western Junior, Western High, Western Secondary.
Yes.
That's Columbus? Primary?
No, that's C.R. Walker, where C.R. Walker is now.
Okay.
It was Western Junior,
right?
And then which was headed by Mr. Boleg. He was the principal there.
Okay.
Then Western Senior, who was headed by T.G. Glover.
And where was Western Senior?
Right where C.R. Walker is.
Okay, so they had both.
Western, so they had, one campus, but you had the junior on one side, junior,
and senior on the other.
And then senior on the other.
Okay.
Now, many times our classroom was in the yard under the tamarind tree with the standard blackboards and with the eraser.
Right.
And so if it rained that day,
boom,
you understand, school would
come a long way.
School would be out.
Yeah.
And so remember, that was the time when you turned 14. You had to leave school if your parents couldn't pay to go to Government High. Remember, Government High was a private school at the time.
It was private?
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Government High was a private school.
Okay.
St. John's.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't look in the area of Queens College and St. Andrews.
No, that's
okay.
That's another dimension. Yeah.
Okay.
That's men are from Mars, women are from Venus type thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what we had to do is once you finished senior high school, if you couldn't go on,
wait time.
Then you had to get something to do, and then of course you started to get private classes.
Right.
Okay. And it wasn't long after that Aquinas used to have night classes.
Right.
So I started taking night classes at Aquinas.
That's what they used to have all them things like Pittman and all them kind of things you take.
There you go. You see, because you were so young in here, you know, I'm talking about. Yeah. But I'm saying all this to say.
You learn how to type and thing.
You had to learn. You have to be determined to try and help yourself. You can't just sit down and mope over what you don't have.
Right.
You see, I was 16 years old at the time, and I took the exam for the trained nurses.
Okay.
The first group that came in, and during the time when Miss Bowen was the matron.
Right.
And I passed the test, and I went into nursing school.
Okay.
But apart from that, then I started night classes. You see, I was going to night classes even though I was in the nursing program.
Right.
Yes.
Well, people had the kind of discipline and I guess it was born out of a hunger, a deprivation.
Yes.
You know, when you're deprived of something, you seek it out more, and it, you know.
See, Ed, you know, we must understand that not all of us were born with silver spoon in our mouth, so to speak.
Right.
Some of us came from families where you had to start early to stand on your feet. Because many of us had to be helped to be providers in the home.
Right.
I was working from I was 10 years old. I had to stand on a crate and wash my teacher's children's clothes, Harry Lockhart and Ken Lockhart. Miss Lockhart was my teacher.
They lived right across from us.
There you go. Dean's Lane.
Dean's Lane, yeah.
So you lived on Dean's Lane?
No, I lived right on West Street Hill West and South Street.
West Street?
Yes.
Yeah, which was right around the corner.
West Street. Everything was in like Walking Ridge.
And I had to go there in the afternoons to work. Every afternoon after school. And then on Saturdays, I went from morning till about 2 o'clock. And Miss Lockhart would give me some of Harry and Ken's clothes because my younger brothers fitted the same clothes. And at that time, you know, I got 10 shillings. You know, that was plenty money.
You're over the top.
And so I would bring that home to help my mother to provide food for us. And I was only 10 years old. But I had to work.
There were no options.
No.
It's just the way things were.
And so today, you know, many of us look at who can give you something. Nobody's going to give you anything. You have to go and earn it.
You know what's interesting about that, just to digress for a second, I keep on thinking about the work ethic that we have today. And one of the things that we've done, you see, when you're deprived or when you feel as if you are missing on something, you tend to seek it. And then when people get into the position where they've achieved it, they change. Yeah. So we are now in a mode where, at least in my generation, where, I don't need, my child don't need to be waking. What you doing with your child waking? And as a result of that, the children today, unlike the work ethic in the States, they don't know what work is until they get into the workforce. Absolutely. And then when they get into the workforce, they can't handle it.
No, that's for sure.
Okay? In the United States, when you're in high school, you go to work at McDonald's or something in the evenings, on the weekends you wake in, in the summer you wake in. Here, no. Only a few industrious kids are doing that. So when they get into that 9 to 5, they can't. They jump from not playing baseball to the major leagues. Can't hit the ball. We'll be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here, along with just a wonderful. I'm not a very religious person, and of course she is. But it's not only about religion when you talk about things like Easter. It's about the spirit of things, and there's no better guest we could have on this holiday. I'm just so happy to see you. Honestly, I haven't seen you in a long time.
See you too.
It's been a long. We had some good times together, man.
Oh yes, and I need to say this too, Ed. I want to thank you again for the first set of. You remember we had the playground on 5th Street.
Yeah.
You gave us that first set of equipment that we were able to put there for the children of that area to enjoy. And I want to take that time to say thank you so much.
It was my organization. I was just a vehicle. But I remember going down there and just seeing the face of those kids, man. Yes. And I don't know how it's kept up. I don't know how things have kept up, but hopefully it has. But so you tell us about how when you got out of school. So you got out of school, you went into nursing, and then when did you make this transition? Because you know what people know you as? They know you as coach. Yeah. I know two things about you: Coach and St. Augustine's in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
That's If it was anything I know about, is those two things.
Yes.
So tell us about that period of time.
Actually, when I got out of nursing, I was transferred to C.C. Sweeting in the Ministry of Education. It was my request. I was determined that nursing was really not for me any longer because I needed to reach out. I needed to touch some people. I couldn't do it in nursing. And then I was transferred to C.C. Sweeting. Bear in mind, getting the transfer, I didn't have a degree. And so I had to take a major pay cut in my salary. But it was like I was on a mission. I had to do it. I had to get out. And when I got to C.C. Sweeting, it wasn't 6 months before the call came that the school in North Carolina through Tom Grant. The bird was graduating. And the school needed a volleyball coach, and they heard about me through Bird, and they wanted me to come. They was going to pay my way full scholarship, give me a stipend, and also give me a budget to work with. They gave me $60,000 a year.
Oh, you was
and recruit. To go and recruit.
Oh, that's just for recruitment money. That wasn't for salary.
No. $60,000 for me to recruit.
Okay, so travel around recruit.
Exactly. And instead of my going to America where I was, I kept coming back to the Bahamas and recruiting Bahamians.
In those days, it had been the 809.
Yes. And the thing is, you see, I had good connections with other coaches who had other sports like track and field, tennis, golf, soccer, those kind of sports. So I was able to get them to give some scholarships for these other sports. And that's how it worked. And so when I got there, I was an older student. Remember, I was 34 years old when I went to college. I had left a house full of children and my husband. But my husband was the one who pushed me to go. And at that time, now, Ed, men could be cruel, and where are you sending your wife? So you staying home, keeping children, and so he went through a lot of abuse.
Not in them days. Yes. There was no Mr. Mom then.
No, sir. No. and so he knew. He always said he knew once I got my feet in that door, I would open the door for others. And so when I arrived there, the people fell in love with me. The president, the vice president, and so we had a good relationship. And so I brought them down to the Bahamas and had them to meet some of our leaders in the country. And so therefore a number of Bahamian students were able to get full scholarship, never spent a dime. And today, Ed, they are doctors, lawyers, engineers, police officers, you name it, teachers. But the thing is, Ed, when somebody helps you, you have to always look to help somebody else. You see what I'm saying? And my life, if someone hadn't given me a chance, where would I have been? And that's how I look at life. And when I see some of these young men who people thought would never amount to anything, I must say this, Ed, because this young man's name is Mark Thompson. Mark was a student at C.C. Sweeting. Mark was a brilliant young man, but he was poor. And every year I took about 2 groups, and each group was like 80, 70. Well, Peter Rutherford said his group was 99 that I carried. BC. Yeah. There's one of my children, too. And so when Mark was going, I said, Mark, you can't go in this lot. Because you don't have enough clothes. Give me time to get some clothes because you're going into the ice and the sleet. But he said, but mother, how could you leave me? I have no one. I said, but Mark, you can't go with because you're not ready. I know you're accepted, but you just don't have the clothing. Well, Mark knew the day I was leaving. And when I got to the airport with the group,
he was
Mark is at the airport. I said, Mark, but I told you. And he started. He said, Mother, if you leave, I don't know what to do. I said, anyway.
How old was Mark at the time?
Mark at that time was about 17, going on 18, somewhere around there. My sons, my 2 sons, biological sons now, they were going. And I said to my children, okay, let me take Mark. Because I would fly to Miami and drive from Miami to Carolina. That's 13 hours one way. I took Mark. Needless to say, he graduated with honors because he was a brilliant boy.
And he was determined.
Yes. Mark didn't return home. And I mean, what am I coming home for either if you have a better life somewhere else? Mark today is the CEO of a major insurance company. The same Mark in the U.S. The same Mark. And Mark has been...
I was going to ask you who he is because I don't recognize the name.
No,
but he's in the U.S.
You know. And I can tell you some stories. Dr. Esme Wims. Dr. Esme Wims is in charge of the laboratory at Princess Margaret Hospital on the Caribbean. Esme was one of those from A.F. Adderley School who she didn't even know how to play sports. I taught her how to score volleyball games. And I called my friend and I said, listen, I have a young lady. We got to help her. So she said, Mother, I said, she's coming as a statistician. as a statistician.
Not a scorer,
no,
a statistician.
No, she's a statistician. That is that big word, you see. And I said, put her in charge of one of the dormitories.
Right, so she got
so she could help to make up. Sure enough, I took her to college because she had no one to carry her.
Yeah.
I didn't hear from her after I returned home for a couple of years. And one Christmas, the phone rang. It was Ismay on the other end of the line. She said, Mother, I guess you wondered what happened to me. I said, well, it crossed my mind. She said, I just want you to know I'm at the University of the West Indies now doing my PhD in hematology. This was the same girl that I took from the back of a little hut with numbers. Web shops wasn't out then. They had the number paper writing the numbers. And that's where I found her. I'm saying all this to say there are many more Ismays out there.
Many more Marks.
There are many more Marks out there. All they're waiting for is an opportunity, a chance. And we who have gotten up, somebody gave us a chance. It's not about me. It's about how many I can help in passing this way.
And let me tell you something, and I'm not going to get, because what you do is just outstanding. And by the way, you kind of figure out now why they call her mother. Anyway, so, it becomes it's You don't. There's no need to have any sort of recognition that will come anyway.
That's right.
But the reward is so deep.
Yes.
When you see that happen, I've gone through that experience with people. Yes. When you hear that this person who, when they were on the dirt playing marbles, and you could, and now they're an accountant or they're this or that, you don't need any. That's all the recognition you need. I walked into a place once. And this young lady said to me, Mr. Fields, you don't remember me, hey? And I said, no, dear, I don't. She goes, well, you don't remember when my sister and you helped us with this thing and that thing? I said, oh, that's nice. Yeah. She says, I said, well, what you doing? She says, well, I got my job and I now work and I have my own apartment. Just the feeling that where the person came from. Absolutely. And by the way, the help that you give them, it doesn't have to be huge. No. It's just a little push. Open the door. Little push in that right direction.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Because in terms of the other direction they could have gone in. Mm-hmm. So you must live a very, you must be at peace.
Mark, when I think about...
You calling me Mark?
Oh, God. Mark is on my mind. I was about to say, people like Mark gives you the incentive. Because you know that all he wanted was a chance, and he got that chance, and he made much of it. But I was going into the elevator at Doctor's Hospital last one day last year, and I heard this voice said, "Mother Pratt," and I turned, and I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I'm now a surgeon." You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm now a surgeon. So I said, so where's your brother? He said, my brother is in South Africa doing his consultancy. Both of them are medical doctors. Yeah. So these are the kinds of things that cause your eyes to get full. When you look around and see many of these kids are still floating around here and just hoping and praying somebody recognize what's happening to their world.
You ever seen that movie Schindler's List?
No.
It was about a German industrialist who, during the war, had a factory, and the Germans, needed his factory. And he used Jewish labor. Okay. He rescued them from the prison camps and used them for labor, and as a result, protected them from going to the gas chambers. And at the end of the war, he broke down crying. And you know why he broke down crying? Because he said he wished he could have saved some more.
Yes. Oh, man.
You know what I'm saying? Not because of all he wanted to do. He got obsessed with saving more people. Now that's a big thing to save people's lives. I mean, from the gas chamber. But you save lives. That's the gas chamber, the streets, prison. You save the lives.
Ed, one of the things I hope and pray after the Lord takes me home that our people from the inner city would recognize that they're just as good as anybody. And I say to my young men, when I take them out as groups, particularly in the U.S., I say, now, first of all, I don't want you putting your hands in your pockets when we go into food stores, period. These they have cameras, and they say, you're black. Don't forget that. And certainly, a lot of these young men, some of them had never even been on a plane. But they are brilliant kids academically, but all they needed was an opportunity. And so what I would do is I would gather them and go to the Salvation Army, you call it the Goodwill stores. Where I could get jackets for like $2 and stuff like that. And I know the weather they're going in. I would shop in there for them because some of them have nobody to send them anything. And so by the time I got them in the dorms and had them suited out and then I returned, I would drive back from Miami, from Raleigh to Miami. It's another 13 hours. And Ed, I never asked for a dime. Never asked for a dime from them nor their parents. Because I believe that these young brothers going to return home and help to build this country. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And some of them even ran in politics. They were members of parliament. And I won't call names. Mm-hmm. They have some lawyers. Mm-hmm. The other day, walking down Shirley Street, I heard this voice behind me. I turned. He said, "Mother Pratt, I just want to say thank you." So I said, "Okay." I said, "What?" He said, "I was trying to get into law school in London, and no one would write a letter for me. And I came to see you, and you wrote that letter, and in no time, I was gone." Mm-hmm. He said, "I am now a lawyer," and because he had his collar on, and so I'm.
You don't like that collar.
Yeah. and so it's all about opportunities.
You know, when we have people on this show, Miss Sasha Lightbourne, mm-hmm. we're going to take a break. We don't prep. We don't plan what we're going to have. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think for a second I was going to talk to Mother Pratt about, I don't know what. But I can tell you something. You know, this Easter season, okay, it's the way that things turn.
It's a message.
Okay, that it has been a really blessing that you have been on thus far. We had a couple more minutes ago that you've been on here because, you know, you talk about these things and you preach about these things as a talk show host. But when you can have a living example of what just simple assistance, and we're not talking about no bunch of money, but just being willing to help, to point someone in the right direction, what that means at this time of year in terms of, you know, for those who are believers, emulating that man or that being that wanted the best for everyone. This is an example of that spirit. We'll be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with the wonderful, the special, the extraordinary Mother Pratt. I think Sasha thought I was speaking about her. Of course, she's wonderful, but I didn't want to put on those other superlatives. Sasha Lightbourne is our co-host this afternoon. So we see now, even if you've been listening, hopefully you're home chomping on a little hot cross bun with a little fish, maybe some cheese. I begin to sound like Picewell. You know? Yeah. I begin to sound like Picewell, man. Picewell was on there the other day. You're listening to Mother Pratt, and you realize what service above self is. This is the exemplar of what service above self is. And, you know, people like Cynthia Mother Pratt, and, you know, I get to say this in front of her, they're not even looking for this sort of accolades. It's just the way it is. And so I then just immediately traverse into the question, why did you get into politics? I kind of know the answer, but I want to ask you and to tell the folks out there, why did you get into politics?
Ed, you know, politics is about service. Uh-huh. Okay.
At its core.
Yes. Mm-hmm. In order to be great, the Bible says one must become a servant. And once you enter politics, you're always a servant. You never, ever go back to being yourself. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a line. Once you cross, that's it.
Yes. Because the people will always see you in that light.
Right.
When I decided to go in, it was because my husband, he was instrumental in encouraging me.
Brother Joe.
Yes. But the offer came from Celine Pinley.
I knew that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I decided after a while, well, you know, I'll go for one term. Because, first of all, I had no idea what politics was about. Never been involved. Green as grass. And so nobody's there to tell you anything. Mm-hmm. So when you get there, you're like, they throw you in the middle of an ocean, you swim or you sink. So you must be a quick learner. And but the bottom line was it was about service. Mm-hmm. And so Lyndon said something to me that stayed. And I believe that convinced me to give it a try. Mm-hmm. He said, Mother Pratt, you know how many of us wish we had your legacy. I didn't know what in the world, because I didn't see it as anything. He said, but if you can help that many people from this level,
imagine what you could do.
Think about it if you go to another level.
Well, see, I was about to say, when you made references to Lyndon, that Sir Lyndon was no fool, and he knew that while many may have viewed him as an icon, and that many politicians or would-be politicians wish to align themselves with him being an icon, he knew he was aligning himself with an icon. It's as simple as that. That's simple as that. You see what I'm saying? That's why he said to you about your legacy. He knew. And but you got into it, and how did you find it?
So, Ed, I saw myself as I do today as an ordinary woman from the heart of the inner city, and that's how I see myself. But I knew that maybe I need to give this a try, because I know there are so many who are still in the gutter today. And the only way they will get help is I have to be in position to help them.
Right. The voids that you saw.
Yes.
When you were trying to help these people and the challenges you came across.
Absolutely.
You know that maybe you could fill those voids.
Absolutely. But most of all, I wanted them to know that there was hope. You see, because if a woman can come from 6th Street, Coconut Grove, the inner city, where they see us as being, I don't know, I wouldn't want to go down that path. But if I can go to a certain level or rise to a certain level because God placed me there, the same God is alive today who can do it for them.
And you never left.
No.
You still live there.
Still there.
Why?
Because that's my choice. That's my choice. Now, of course, and I must say this, politics is a wicked thing sometimes. It could be good, but then it could be a very hurtful thing, because I believe that one of the things that bothered me more than anything is when a lie was told that I didn't live among the people anymore. All right? And they went to an extent to even take a photograph of somebody's house that was being built and say it's mine. And so many persons today still believe Mother Pratt doesn't live there. They think that I only be there, I pass by. But the thing about it is, I'm not concerned about what people think. What I'm concerned about is how many lives I can touch while I'm there. And in the inner city, I believe that we must show that it's not about where you begin. It's where you end. And so if you want to become something in life, you must start within yourself, because you see, if nothing is in, nothing will come out. And so you could put me in a gated community, but if I still have the gutter life inside of me, it'll eventually come out. You see? And so this is the message that I send to our people. Don't argue with people. Just show them. Show them that you can make a difference.
We were talking earlier in the show about your gripers. And how when you get to a certain point in life, you just got to stay on the course.
Yes.
You can't, listen, I've not had any kind of the near experiences that you've had, but I can tell you the things that people have said about me, or the things that they say you're doing or not doing.
Yes.
But you know what you care about? The people who matter.
Yes. Yes. I was in immigration one day, Ed, and here's this immigration officer asked me a question with a lot of people in the office wanting to know why did I build that house in the Grove. Well, now, Ed, I had to ask the Lord, please help me to answer this one right.
I can imagine.
But I'm saying, just the thought of her asking me a question like that, this is how some of them think.
Right.
It's about things.
Yeah.
It's not about the individual. It's based on where you live more so than who you are.
Right.
You see? And so these are the things that bothers me, Ed, because I try to say to my people, listen, hold your head high, stand tall, and show them better than you can tell them. Show them. We don't need to carry on like animals. and just show them that we can build this. And then the point I made, I said, Lyford Key wasn't always Lyford Key. It was bushes. Seabreeze Estate was not always Seabreeze, it was bushes. Mm-hmm. Who made it what it is? The people. The people made it what it is. All we have to do is make it what it should be, us. We are responsible for that.
What do you say to people? There is an attitude in this country, and it must have been, you must have witnessed it, when someone has to sacrifice to make something of themselves. Okay, now you're a classic example of what you've just told us. No one gave you no money to go to college. No one gave you no money to get a nursing degree or a nursing certificate. You worked for that.
Yes.
How do you? And this is because I think about this often. How someone who hasn't worked for it, who hasn't done anything, can just denigrate you and say, "Who do you think you are?" Because you get this. How would you tell people how they should deal with that emotionally? Because you don't even know how to deal with something like that.
No. I just simply say to them, I've earned it. I've earned it. And so you could break it down however you want to, but it was blood, sweat, and tears. But okay, that brings this point, Ed. If we look at politics today, you know what the people see? The people see the end product. They see the Crown Victorious. They see, if you're driving Lexus and the blue plate, they see that. And they see the chauffeur, they see
the physical.
There you go. But they have not seen the midnight oil. They have not seen the sleepless nights. They have not seen the abuse that you've been taking, and you have to suck it up.
Up until recently, I'll be honest with you, they didn't even see the fact that those people with them blue plates had to pay for their own gas.
Well, you see what I'm talking about?
That would just freak me right out.
Yes. So the point about it is that they only see the end product.
They only see what they want to see.
They didn't see what leads up to the end.
Right.
And so that is the reason why once you enter politics, you must recognize that you are not the same. You are a servant of the people. You will always be a servant, and you don't have a life. I said, Ed, I would get home at 1 a.m. in the morning, and I would leave out at 5 a.m. because I had to set a time to see my people who couldn't come to me.
Right.
I would have them come to me at 7 a.m. to 9 every day. My neighbors thought I had moved because they never saw me. My husband had to come out at lunchtime for us to go out and eat and mingle for a couple of hours.
Oh, no.
I didn't have a life.
See, I tell people all the time, Cynthia, Mother Pratt, that is, obviously politicians are representative of the community.
Yes.
You have some good ones, you have some bad ones.
Absolutely.
But I'll tell you one thing. Those of us who sit on the side, and I've learned this the hard way, and they hear these decisions that government and politicians make, and because it wasn't something they like, they then determine how bad that decision was or how good that decision was. First of all, they don't realize that there are 50 sides to the story, 50 people wanting 50 different things, and the politician or the government has to make a decision, and not everyone is going to like it. But the person who is making that gripe, they don't get to make that decision, they just get to gripe. The second thing I say is, you don't know how much of a complete and utter, it's almost like bravery to go into politics. Yep. Okay? You have to be brave to go into that.
It strips you.
And Ed, you must be sure that your spouse is in full support of you.
And your family and your children.
And your family.
Yeah. And on top of that, they up for the abuse too.
What? And then when the night comes, after you've been beaten all day, you have to go home at least and hope somebody could give you an encouraging word. Because, you see, our lives don't mean anything to some people out there. All they want from us is to do it for me now. And then especially when you go into a ministry where you don't know the ministry and you must depend on your permanent secretary to lead you the right path. They can make you or they can break you.
Well, my good friend and your colleague, Ryan Pinder, said, the cabinet ain't control of nothing. Okay? The public service is within control of everything. Okay? And they're not necessarily held accountable.
No, sir. But
people don't even know who they are.
Anything goes wrong, it all points at the minister.
Yeah.
And half the time, you don't even know. Because there were times when I said to persons, I said, okay, come and see me at a certain time. And I leave my instructions to sign off on this. I approve such a thing. It never gets to the people. And when I would see them again, I noticed they have an attitude. Yeah. And I said, you got sorted out. Mother Brand, nothing happened from that day. Yeah. I said, but I approved that the same day. And here I am. Yeah. I'm the villain.
Yeah.
You see? And so these things happen all the time because ministries are big and the ministers come and they go. You come into a ministry that you be there 6 months. How you can learn that ministry? Then they move you on to another one. Right. And you're blind as could be because you depend on your permanent secretary and your staff to guide you.
Right. And boy, they want to undermine you.
If they don't like you,
you're on your own.
Oh, yes.
Sachi, you want to?
How did you decide to leave? How did you decide that, you know what?
Enough is enough.
I've done a good job and it's now time to back away.
Sasha, in everything, even when I played sports, I knew when my time had come for me to hang up the glove. Whatever I go into, when I feel as though I've done the best that I can, it's time for me to move on. Even though there had been many offers, people wanted Mother Pratt, just do one more. My time had gone because you're still dealing with social service, you're dealing with health care, you're still dealing with the economy. There's nothing different. So some new minds have to come in because you have to address these same problems. You see? And so when you feel that I have done as much as I can do, it's time for me to move on, especially when my husband took ill.
Yeah.
You see, that was the turning point of my life. Because without him, there was no way I was going to stay in politics.
But it's a balance, right? Because you've got to give time to yourself.
Yes.
And we kind of talked about this off the air, and I'm going to make this attribution to my good friend Wendell Francis, who's the leader of Roots. And it's extremely applicable to what you're just saying, is as a giver, and you are a giver personified, that givers must place limitations on themselves. This is a tribute to Wendell, because takers have none.
That's true. You're right about that. You're right about that.
You could give, and they can take.
You have done nothing.
There's never, thank you very much, and move away.
And the thing is, thousands are out there who are the people you represent, but you don't know them, but they all know you.
They all know you.
You see what I'm saying?
And you're a source of something for them.
And so whenever you are seen, it's always about what you can do for me. I want to say this before we close. The Dame Janet Boswick gave me this joke, and I often talk about this. And she said she came in office one day, and she was really not feeling well. And this lady met her and came and she said, Miss Boswick, how you doing? And Janet said, I don't feel too good today. And so the lady said to her, okay, listen, well, when you finish with me, go rest. Drop down, take it. Yeah, you understand?
And then you go home, but not a minute before.
It is only a saint that could have blessed our show today. I get the little music in the background, so this ends fittingly. It's only a saint that could have blessed our show today on this. What do you call this? Monday, Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah. I call it Good Friday Eve. Okay.
Good Friday earlier.
I did?
Okay,
yes. I said that? Okay, Good Friday Eve.
It's an Eve.
there's no more of a perfect guest than we could have than Cynthia Mother Pratt, who just personifies giving, not putting any limitations on that, and who should really be the example that if we could just follow 10% of what she does or has done and continues to do, this would be a wonderful place to live, Miss Sasha Lightbourne.
Agreed.
Ken Williams, my darling, my dear, wonderful, sweet Mother Pratt, I love you, baby.
Thank you for having me.
Am I my darling, my dear?
Yeah.
Yeah, we said yeah. You get the wonderful.
Ken, you see it right? You see
you
it
can,
right?
You have plenty stripes. You got plenty stripes on. Am I your wonderful darling?
Yeah. You are my wonderful
darling.
Okay,
well then you're my wonderful darling. Do that. Ken is not my wonderful darling. Okay.
No.
Oh yeah, listen. It's also wonderful when you could tell someone in a very, very public manner how much I love you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right.
I love you too, and so I appreciate you.
You continue to do what you are. You can outlast me anyway, so it don't matter. Can you speak at my funeral? You can speak at my funeral, right? Okay. Thank you very much, Ken. Sasha, have a wonderful holiday, everyone. We'll see you on Thursday of next week.
God
Thank
bless.
you very much.
God bless you.
Right.